recording in progress, so that our friends who are unable to join us today will be able to catch up on our session asynchronously. So, all right, I did that. You also must complete the attendance survey at the end. None of this is news to you all, I expect. You've got to be registered and accepted to participate, and please bookmark the page for all updates and information. And I have that link, and I'm going to put it in the chat right here. I also found this super cool cork board that you all have been using in order to gather information and share ideas. And I just think that's amazing. So I put the link there as well on the Lino it. That's awesome. Wow. 2 weeks teaching math, 2 of the best weeks of your life, I bet. Math's the best. All right, I'm going to keep watching that waiting room and let people in as we get rolling here. So excited. Here we go. I understand today is favorite book night. And I was instructed to make sure to get a photo of everyone with their favorite books. So I'm going to unshare my screen so that I can get the nice big grid view of everybody. And this is your warning. Please look around, find that book that's going to be your favorite, whether it's a storybook or a chapter book or a magazine. If it's reading material, it counts as far as I'm concerned. So let me click the stop share button and get you guys, please, if you haven't done it, to turn on your camera so you don't miss the photo. And let's see if I can get the right window pulled up while I'm figuring this out. All right, yep, admit. Here we go on the view. I want the gallery view. There they are. Okay, so find your book, get ready, and I'm making this screen as big as possible. Can I get everybody on the screen together and not have to do 2 shots? No, it doesn't look like that's going to be a thing. That's all right. We'll take 2. All right. Oh, Priscilla, do you do ebooks, and that's your thing that you're holding up? That's awesome. Look, it works. I think that's fantastic. So go ahead and hold it up there. And we're going to, let's see, make sure the next screen. Okay, I see a couple. Now, I saw pictures on pet nights, and the screen was loaded with kitties and puppies. So look around and find you a book right quick. Admit. And we want to make sure, I can't leave letting Dr. Shields down. She asked for a picture, and we're going to give her one. Ooh, we've got a double picture going down there. Nice. Ooh, you're reading the Marzano book? Look at you. Bonus points. All right. Very nice. Okay. When you're ready, I'm going to click this button here and do the screenshot first, and then I'll screenshot the second screen. All right. So I'm going to count it down. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to click over to the second screen and do it again. You guys are good sports. All right. So this one's going to be 4, 5, 6. Nice. Thank you very much. You are amazing sports to play along on favorite book night. Books are awesome, whether you're reading to learn or play or anything in between. I just think that it's an awesome thing to celebrate. Okay, now we're going to find the button that says we're going to share screens again. And I apologize in advance because I am not on my work setup, and it's just not quite the same. Where's the button? Share screen. Here we go. All right, people. So my name is Leslie. I am just delighted to be here. I am on my second cup of coffee because typically I'm taking a nap when I get home. And, in the recliner, it's a magical thing. It just sucks you in. So I hope that you all have yourself some energy juice too. That's an important thing. Okay, I'm going to go back to this view here. All right. And Miss Lucy, I can see you right now. Will you give me a thumb up if you can actually see my screen? Okay, good. All right. Thank you very much. I feel better. I am here with you representing AMSTI. I am a K2 math specialist at the State Department with AMSTI. That stands for Alabama Math, Science, and Technology Initiative. And I'm here to speak for K5 math tonight. I am also delighted to speak with you any old time. So if you have a question and I can be a help to you, grab my information there. I'll also share it again at the end. Can't see my screen. Dadgummit, you guys. Let's try again. Thank you. Thank goodness for the chat. How about now? I bet so, because your face has disappeared. That's what it does. Okay, we're going to carry along. And I'm going to say, oh, there's the chat box. admit. You guys, Leslie. Oh, Leslie is awesome. Thank you, iPhone. I don't know who you are, but I love it. Okay, so yes, reach out anytime. I am delighted to be here and hang with you guys. And here we go. Here's our goals. I practiced this several times with my friends, and my friend Georgia, you take care of you. Okay, you're here, and we've got you. Time is a thing. So I'm going to tell you as much as I can think to tell you and all the things that I have planned. But hang around if you have specific questions, and we will do all that we can do to make sure that you have everything we can tell you about K-5 math in the next 51 minutes. All right, here we go. We have 3 big goals that we're going to hit today. We understood our mission here is to make connections to what you've already discussed about standards and proficiency scales and other resources that are out there through the lens specifically for K-5 math. And so that is what our focus will be today. We'll take a look at standards and resources that are aligned to those standards. Additionally, we'll talk about some math specific practices for the student and the teacher that can help you laser focus in on what you're trying to do and how you want to do it in your classroom. And finally, we'll take a look at some flexible math routines that are fun, that engage your class, and that are very personalizable depending on the grade you're with and the goals that you have, from dealing with numbers to shapes and all the other things, so that you'll walk away with some things that you can do tomorrow with your group and hopefully be able to immediately put some of this in action. So there's our plan. Let's get into it. And I'm going to catch up on my notes document over here. The T in AMSTI is for technology. So I'm trying to be paper free, varying degrees of success. Okay, so these are the standards. You've seen the standards document before. This is a legal document that has been approved by all of the big people, the Board of Education. It's the thing that we have to use to plan what we do. And if you don't have a digital copy of it somewhere, there it is in the chat box for you. Also, I'm going to say to you that when we are finished and we have recorded, I will also save the meeting chat as a text file and send that around to you. So if there are links that I'm dropping here and you don't want to try and catch it in real time, it'll come to you again. And also the link to my slides is at the end here, and I'll share that too so that you can access this whole slide deck digitally. So please don't feel like you have to click off and then wonder where in the world did my Zoom screen just go. That's how that goes. All of this will be available for you again. But I like to be able to have digital access and not have to use the binder when I'm trying to find things. And so there's the link. You'll see on this slide that I am still sharing to you, yes, that it gets quite complicated. There's a whole lot. There's a whole lot of front matter. There's a whole lot for the grades that do not apply to us. There's a whole lot of stuff at the back with the appendices, and it can get really overwhelming. And also, that's not really written in super user-friendly terminology. And so I want to share some things to you that can help you digest some of this and be able to find actionable things. So let's click over here. Want to start with, of course, there's that legal document. Also, want to make sure that you are really versatile on using the ALEX website. The ALEX website is quite handy because they have a lot of these standards that have been unpacked in their resources. Here's the link to that. They have lists of vocabulary that go along with the goal you're working on. They have lists of skills that help, the prerequisite skills. If your student is working on this standard, they should bring these skills to the table with them for success. And sometimes they even have linked resources to activities that directly align to that specific standard. So that's a really good thing to know about. I'm going to take you there in just a minute, and we're going to look at it on my screen. Another thing for you to know that, well, I'll just go there. How about if I just go there? So let's see, I'm going to unshare this. Here we go. Unsharing. And then I'm going to reshare a different window. I'm going to share. What do I want to share on? I'm going to do this. Okay. Nothing like a little adventure in Zoom to make you good and nauseous, right? So the link to that is this. Click it. No. Awkward pause, awkward pause. Okay. This one. I know. It's the coffee, man. That's why I'm so successful today. Wink. Here it comes though, for real. Where that window is. Yeah. That's the one I want. Okay, now, when you get to the ALEX page, what you want to do is you want to hover over resources, courses of study, math. And there are other ones too, if you care about those, but you know, I'm interested in the math one. So let's just pick a grade. Let's go second grade. And I don't know, standard number 1 looks like a good one. So number 1 is when I'm going to use addition and subtraction within 100, 1 and 2 step word problems. So that's handy, but please note there are resources, lesson plans, and classroom resources. Like this is a handy little thing to know about here. And then when you expand this unpacked content, check this out. Students should be able to solve a variety of addition and subtraction problems, concrete and pictorial representations, drawings, equations. Teachers should be able to be using this. I mean, that's a pretty obvious vocabulary list. Students should know these things. Students are able to do these things. Students understand that you've got some diverse learning need essential skills. Now, here's what you need to know about, oh, look, prior knowledge skills. We want to make sure that you are using the grade level standards. So one of the things that they will offer, and they'll call it different things in different places, is the Alabama Alternate Achievement Standards. That's what at my school would call them AAA. Those are the ones that your special education teachers will use to modify a student's learning goals. So that is not what we need to be pulling from. It's there, and I'm showing you unpacked content, but the alternative standards are not the ones that we're after. So FYI. But this is a really handy thing to know about. So you can pick the standard that you're working on, patterns, unpack that, and see what we need the students to be able to do in lists that are way more user-friendly. So ALEX is a great one to get into and use. And I'm now going to swap back over to this. And who is this that I see right here? Miss Henley, I see your face. A thumbs up if you see it says, where can I access the current ALCOS? Yes. All right. Thank you very much. So there it is. ALEX has the same information as the course of study. It's just searchable, clickable, unpackable. It's quite handy. Okay, other really helpful stuff. Look, I went a whole 17 minutes without a plug for AMSTI. AMSTI is there to serve you. That is our function. We are here to help make sure that you have what you need to do what you need to do with your students. In this conversation, specifically math. So we have regions, the state is divided up. We have people posted all over to help you and to support the instructional coach that's in your building. And we have resources and we are here for you. Want to talk to you about just a few. Oh, I feel that coffee. It's in me now. It's going. I really should have stopped with one, but I didn't. So that was my mistake. All right. When you are on the AMSTI website, amsti.org, there are some things that you can look for that are very handy. I understand that you all met Carrie Richburg, one of our amazing middle school people, when you were talking about proficiency scales. So proficiency scales have been written for all of those important, critical, high, it's a special word, critical. Yes. The math standards have proficiency scales, and they are available for you to access and download on amsti.org. Those are really handy for lots of reasons, but I especially want to circle back and mention differentiation and assessment. I have written myself notes all over my stuff to make sure differentiation is critical, and there's not a lot of resources that tell you how to differentiate. All the resources are written to say, here's what you need by the end of the grade. So when you're looking at proficiency scales and also some of those prerequisite skills over on ALEX, that can help you back it up a little bit for your students. If you find that you need to get to the root of the matter, Those things are going to be listed on your proficiency scale, and they're also going to be listed on ALEX. Additionally, if you are a school that is served by the Office of Mathematics Improvement, then they have a lot of helpful information related to the Numeracy Act on their Padlet, and that also is a great resource for you. And finally, as you get into resources related to the ACAP, there are things that are more helpful than you would imagine. They have documents where they show I've got people in the waiting room, student examples that admit all, that, the standards give you a list of what they need to know. Some of those ACAP documents give you examples of what the student's work needs to look like. And that is a helpful thing too. So all of those things are available to you, and all of those things are linked from AMSTI.org. So that's your hub. Just go ahead and favorite it in your to-do list, AMSTI.org. And then there's a button there for contacting us and getting a hold of your regional site. And we'll talk more about that later so we can help you. It's all for the students. If there's a way that we can help grease your wheel and ease your path, that's what we are here for. Okay, click the button. Oh, this is my favorite thing. If we get to nothing else tonight, it is time for the top 10 list. Are you ready? I'm a big David Letterman fan. I'm very sad that he's not live all the time anymore. But this is in the style of David Letterman, and also in the style of a true or false list of questions. So I want to make sure that my chat is back up so I can see all of your thoughts. Chat, open it. There it is. Okay. All right, here we go. So the way this is going to go, you start at number 10 and you count it back to number 1. And this is an opportunity for us to do a little bit of exploring together about K-5 math in a way more fun format than me just telling you a bunch of stuff. So here we go. I'd like you to use your chat box and just respond with a true or a false as I pose each of these 10 questions. And then I will let you know whether it was true or false, and I'll give you some information. And I'm excited. I am excited to hear your feedback. You're either going to enjoy this or be really irritated by the time we have made it through number 1. Here we go. All right, number 10, true or false? Hands-on math is just for kindergarten. Look at all those falses. We got one in all caps. That's my friend over there. Yeah, it's false. Let me tell you about this. We know about the power of constructivism. That's that theory of learning that says that we construct our learning from experiences. If you've ever heard somebody say, I always have to learn it the hard way, you cannot explain it to me. I have to learn it the hard way. I got to get my hands on it. I got to figure it out. They're illustrating for you this idea of constructivism. I can tell students, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, but until they touch, build, move, play, explore, they're not going to get there. It's something they have to experience. And our standards call for concrete stuff and drawings well past kindergarten. As a matter of fact, what we know is if a new concept is being established with your students, they need to have something to touch and move. They need to explore it, experience it, draw a picture of it. And only once they understand what in the world they're doing should they be considering what equation matches that. As you're writing your lesson plans, it's a great thing to consider, how am I going to incorporate some hands-on something to explore this? Now, it may be that your hands-on is in the form of like a story, right? I'm going to explain to you what is happening in my story, because I'm not bringing in special little breakable things, but we can always use little round, those yellow and red counters that we see every place. We do need to be able to touch and move and make sense of things, even if that is not the way we learned it ourselves. All right, here we go. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, so then I reveal hands-on math is important in all grades. That's number 10. All right, here we go. Number 9, true or false? I really don't need to know a whole bunch of resources. I have the textbook and my pacing guide. I can follow that and give my students everything they need. Feels like a trick question when I say it like that, doesn't it? You are such good sports playing along with my true false game. Yeah, false. Books and pacing guides cannot make decisions for your students. They have paced out what they think is a great order, but they don't see the students. They're not interacting with the students. They don't know what they need. For that matter, teacher pay teacher is not all that trustworthy either all the time. What we need to be turning back to is this idea of our standards, of knowing our standards well and getting our students involved with their hands, with their experiences. That's just not something they're not going to get from, okay, everyone, open up your book to page 7 and let's go. That's the tool we've been given, and that's the way we learned. But we want to go a little bit deeper than that for our students. Okay. Oh, and then I'll click this and it says, know your standards, and good grief, pair up with an instructional coach. You will never see a professional baseball player who does not work with the batting coach and the pitching coach and the running coach. And you know, all those football people work with the strength coach and the offensive coach. And we need math coaches for that very reason, to help us specialize and be amazing for our students. Okay, number 8, true or false? All that new math is a waste of time. I'll just teach the way I learned it. It worked just fine for me. I just got a triple false in there. That was glorious. Thank you very much for the triple false. Yeah, and we're in this weird situation where we're trying to do something for our students that we did not experience as the student. So it's weird. We are in this strange area of discomfort, but that's why we're here to help you. So used to, the idea was my main goal in math class is to calculate the correct answer. And then you're going to find your answer and you're going to box it or circle it. Or I had a teacher had me color it with a yellow crayon so they knew we didn't change our answer once we wrote it down. And then you either are good or you're not good at math. What we're trying to get at now is understanding. We really want our students to be able to comprehend. And number 8, the goal is sense making, problem solving, comprehension, not just calculation. The same way that when we want our students to learn how to read, we want them to understand the words that they are saying and not just calling out words like a robot. And then you say, what did you just read? And they say, I do not know. Same with math. We're really working on comprehension. Okay, here we go. This is exciting. Number 7, true or false? Math time is for math. Reading time is for reading. And the two should not mix. I just love that you all are playing along with my silly game. Noticing a pattern that maybe they're all false. Let me tell you, their real life is math. You do have to read in every subject. You have to be able to read those story problems, and then you have to be able to problem solve in reading. And name a storybook and I can find the math connection. If I want to talk about adding groups, well, maybe I'll add up what the hungry caterpillar ate. You turn the page, he ate more stuff. You turn the page, he ate more stuff. I can find that math. Doesn't have to be a math story for me to do that. But the truth is, if we want our students to be able to make sense of the world around them, we have to extend it past the borders of the time that you have in math. Okay. Ooh, number 7, storybooks can be a great way to make sense of math. Y'all don't tell Jasmine that she was right about how long this was going to take me. Just don't tell her. Okay. She would gloat, and she doesn't need that knowledge. Okay. I really need to know who this anonymous iPhone person is. Y'all are just so nice. Okay, here we go. Number 6, true or false? Fractions always made me nervous as a student. My students will be fine with coloring in worksheet models. Yeah, false. What we know is, and that's how I learned it. That is how I learned it. And the only way I finally made sense of fractions was cooking in the kitchen with my granny and measuring cups. That's when I learned what measurement of fractions meant. And those equivalent fractions, because I don't want to wash that half cup. I'll just use the 4th cup 2 times. Who wants to wash that? Unless there's oil on the bottom and then you're just done. You can't get that out without washing it. I'm right. So what research says is our students need to be able to make the models themselves and also partition it themselves. Practicing that idea of making those equal parts when they're working with fractions. Research also says we need to be putting fractions on number lines because that's what a ruler is. We struggle with that because we don't usually use that model, but it's a very important one. So there are lots of things that the standards will tell you about fractions when you dig in. Little kids will discuss fractions, but they have no business writing 1/2 when it comes to talking about a half. They're not supposed to write that stuff down till 3rd grade. KM 1 and 2 will discuss pieces like that and equal parts with the word half, but they shouldn't be writing it that way till 3rd, and the standards will tell you that. 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, there are only certain denominators that are fair game for each grade, and those things can be found in your standards, and your AMSTI people and your instructional specialists will be delighted to help you lesson plan and figure out what is the best path for you with fractions. Students deserve the chance to construct their own meaning, and we can all conquer fractions. So can I be the voice of positivity in your universe that says, yes, you can? Yes, you can do fractions. Yes, you can. Okay, here we go. Number 5, true or false? Flashcards and timed tests are the best way to learn those facts. It makes me so proud to see all those falses roll through. That is correct. Research does not back all that up. Now, it is likely the way we learned it, and it is likely happening up and down the hallways, and there are schools that will require it, but many are moving away from that because we know that actually this idea of that practice, meaningful practice, is not the same thing as mindless flashcard practice. That meaningful practice through games, through activities where we use the addition or the multiplication or the whatever, that's where the research says the learning is going to take place. And we've got some cool ones that we'll work on together. So I'm excited for that. Let's see. Oh, and click over here to say we can master basic facts through engaging routines and games, which is more fun for the kids, and it's more fun for you, and it is more fun for them to take home and practice with their families. All right, number 4, true or false? The best way to teach new math ideas is through the I do, we do, you do approach. This is a sticky one because if you have gone through any of these early literacy trainings, that is absolutely what research says is true for the explicit instruction of reading. The I do it, then we'll do it, then you'll do it. In math, believe it or not, the research does not back that up for math. In math, this idea of me setting up some sort of a story, a challenge, a situation for the students to dig in and problem solve sticks a lot better. Oh, look, Dr. Shields is here. Hi, Dr. Shields. She's my biggest fan. Oh my gosh. We're recording that. You can't take it back. She said it, and I have it forever. This idea, the story, the challenge, and then sit back and watch what those kids can do. That's where the magic happens. If indeed what you're trying to get at is for them to master like the long division, yeah, they're not going to stumble upon the way that you write that out. That's something you'll have to show them, but that comes after we have made sense of the thing and practiced for quite a bit. And we'll talk more about that later too. Okay. Let's see. Oh yeah, math talks. Me and Cecilia, we're going to party later on the math talks. That's awesome. Oh, I'm going to click over here and say, I can create opportunities more and explain less. And that is very uncomfortable to be the grown person in the room and sort of relinquishing some control. That is very uncomfortable. All right, here we go. Number 3, we're almost there. True or false? Counting is a kindergarten thing, maybe 1st grade, but certainly not 2nd and up. You are so correct. Now, when I was the student, yeah, we counted in kindergarten, we counted in 1st grade, and then we moved on. The truth is, there's a whole lot of counting that still needs to happen. And counting is the foundation of everything that ever comes after that, ever. See, oh gosh, definitely don't tell Jasmine about the time. By counting up and down by tens, I'm practicing plus 10, plus 10, plus 10, minus 10, minus 10, minus 10, which is a first grade math standard. On the decade, as in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, but also off the decade, like 12, 22, 32, 42, and that is the first grade goal. Change it to counting by hundreds up and down, and now you're working within that second grade goal. If you're like me and you grew up where you had to roll the change at the end of the month to make sure that you were going to make it, heck, I still do it now. But we would roll pennies. And so when you're counting those pennies, you would count out 10, stack them up, count out 10, stack them up so that you could go 10, 20, 30, 40, 41, 42, 43. And that building of tens is the foundation of our base 10 number system, which we want to be able to think and reason about. Then it's so much comes back to counting. We could nerd out about this all day. But there are goals with counting, right up to being able to compare two quantities, the difference I could count out to find the difference. I can count when I'm trying to figure out exactly how long can I hit snooze in increments of 8 before I really have to get up. There's that alarm. It doesn't mean it the first couple of times. So over here on our thing, counting is an essential skill. It's so much more than 1, 2, 3. If you tell me my kids have a place value problem, I'm going to come back and say, can I come do some counting activities? Because almost always that's where the breakdown is. Okay, here we go. 2 more. True or false? Word problems are always tough. We can just skip those if we're running out of time. It's a trick, everybody. The answer is false. Yeah, when we were the student, and I bet the books are still written this way, you would have a page of like 20 or 25 naked number, just add and subtract or whatever the operation is. And there might be a question or two at the bottom. And yeah, we skipped those. Here's a once upon a time. Once upon a time, there was a 3-year-old and they had a few cookies. And I snatched a cookie out of their hand and ate it and laughed at them and said, ha ha, now how many do you have? That child cannot write 4 minus 1 equals 3, but can they tell you what in the world just happened and how many they have now? Absolutely, they can. So this idea that math is the story problem, that's where we get our understanding and our meaning from. And so we want to make sure that we do the story problems. And if you're low on time, do them first. It's a good idea to plan to have some sort of a story, a situation, a challenge every day to get those kids thinking. If they believe that math means writing stuff on a sheet of paper, then they've missed the joy and the beauty and the wonder of being able to problem solve. And so definitely do those story problems. Okay, number 1, the number 1 item on our top 10 list, true or false? We can just skip math if we didn't get to all other goals of the day. It's not nearly as important as some of those other things or that we should do or would rather do. We'll just pick it back up tomorrow. Or we'll just send it home for the family to work on, and then we'll be back on track tomorrow. That is cruel. Don't do that. Those poor families didn't go to any sort of training to understand what's being sent home. That's not the way they learned it. And it's not fair to ruin their evening by sending it to the house. Now they're fighting at the kitchen table. It's not nice. We know that that time is really limited. I would be too, Leisha, be so sad if I didn't get to do math. It's my favorite time of the day, obviously. But it's really critically important. Research says that success in early math is a predictor of success in college, not math success, but success. Just being a successful person is rooted in this idea that you were a good problem solver, that you were able to hear a story and figure out what was going on, that you were able to count and think and reason, and it matters. We would really love, and we know, with the Literacy Act having rolled out, that some times have been added to that part of the day and maybe taken from other parts of the day. But we really would love to see a 90-minute math block for our littles. They really need the time to be able to start with some warm-ups, have a story of the day, have some conversation, go through some centers, all the stuff that we know is a true good format in reading for bouncing back and forth and not staying too long in one spot. It's also amazing for math, and we love to see it. Let's see, you may very well think of, let me click over for the last one. Protect the time, make the time, and make good use of the time. These are we cheer you on with this. You are now an ambassador of, well, you have heard from the people who get to live all day in elementary math. And you can now say, well, that AMSTI girl said, and you can share it, and you can be the ambassador who says, I know we've always done it this way. Let's consider if there's a better way or if this is still the best way. And you may become the cheerleader for your partners up and down the hallway, because the kids are worth it. These babies are worth it. So I want to share with you, and quit talking for a minute. I'm glad that you all helped me realize that the sound was going to work, because the next thing I want to show you is a quick little video from one of our favorite math education creation people, Graham Fletcher. And Graham Fletcher has made these progressions videos that show from counting on into addition and subtraction through our standards, what that looks like. If Leslie is saying that I can't stack them up and add them and subtract them until the end of 4th grade, which is where that standard happens, we need to use other ways to add and subtract and make meaning. Well, then how in the world is that supposed to look? Here it comes. And this is a good one. He has a series on other things too, the foundation of multiplication. There's a fractions one. He really breaks it down in a nice way. So I'm going to click this. We're going to take a look at Graham Fletcher's little video. And let's see, who can I see in my window here? All right, Miss Henley, if something goes weird, you got to wave at me. Okay, because I see you in my box. Okay, here we go, Graham Fletcher.
There's so much happening in the early years of school that at times it's hard to make sense of it all. So here's my attempt to make sense of the progression of addition and subtraction. So
just checking. Can you hear the man talking? Okay.
addition and subtraction begin in kindergarten when students begin to count. They begin to count objects and sets. They do this by counting forwards, and they also do it by counting backwards. A big thing to remember is when we're counting forwards or backwards that we include the number 0. And when we're counting backwards, let's not have them include blast off, because blast off isn't necessarily a number. As students work on counting, they begin to count sets. So here a student will have 4 in one hand, 3 in another hand, and they're not able to put those two sets together. There'll always be a set of 4 and a set of 3. Then as students move from counting sets to joining sets, they're able to combine the 4 and 3. So 4 and 3 more is 7, or 4 plus 3 is 7. As students begin to work on this idea of joining sets, we introduce 5 frames. And to be honest, I don't know if they get enough play in the early grades. So we'll have 4 and 3, and students begin to build an understanding of 5 frames and filling up a 5 frame. Students can see that 4 plus 3 is the same as 5 plus 2. And this understanding will build with students when they begin to use 10 frames later on. So in terms of subtracting, students can have 4 minus 3 and use a separate model, or they can also use a compare model. The big piece here is that a context should always drive the strategy that students are using. So as students are working on addition and subtraction, they're simultaneously working on this understanding of counting and collecting and grouping things in 10. So here 13 could be seen and should be seen as 10 and 3 more, or 10 plus 3. It's here that this whole idea of unitizing is introduced. It's massive, and we need to make sure that students don't leave kindergarten and 1st grade without this understanding conceptually. So as students dive into 1st grade, they begin to explore sums greater than 10. So what might that look like? Well, here, a student can take 9 plus 7, model it with a 10 frame, And because they've worked on this idea of unitizing, or they're beginning to, they know that it's most efficient to, say, fill up a 10 frame. So they take one from the 7, give it to the 9 to make a 10, and they're left with 6. Here, students are beginning to think flexibly about numbers, and the same understanding applies to double-digit numbers. The big piece here is that students, as long as they're using concrete models, they're also drawing representations. So what did we do? We want to make a 10. So we're going to take our 1s and bundle them up to make another 10. Decompose the 8 into a 3 and a 5, give 3 to the 37 to make 40, and have 5 more. So what does this look like with subtraction in first grade? Well, in first grade, students are only subtracting multiples of 10. And here, 37 minus 20, they can see if they remove 2 10s, they're left with 17. So what happens in second grade? How does this build on what they've learned in first grade? Well, they might use two two-digit numbers. And here is where we begin to introduce base 10 blocks because of that whole idea of unitizing that students are still developing in kindergarten and first. Again, just like before, we'll draw a representation for our model. We'll create another bundle of 10. And here's how students can begin to move from the concrete to the representation to the abstract. Now, it might not be efficient, or students might see that it's not efficient to write it out on the side all the time. So, to become more efficient, they can begin to use this understanding of partial sums and find a shortcut. 8 plus 3 is 11, 40 plus 30 is 70. And this understanding of partial sums, well, it leads brilliantly into their understanding that they begin to develop with partial products in fourth grade. So that works for addition, but does it work for subtraction? Well, we want to try and use models that continue to work the same and consistently throughout math. We don't want them to expire. So here we want to have 83, and we'll go back to that separating model. We want to put 29 inside there. Well, we need 6 more. So this is a really big understanding for students where they make that fair trade and that idea of unitizing. So now we can take the 6 from the 10 and we're left with 4. So how can we move again from the concrete to the representation to the abstract? Again, everything that we're doing here and all the work that we're doing, we're not undermining place value. And what's great is that this model, this understanding that we're building, well, it also applies to larger numbers as well. Now we can use place value mats, we can use just open sheets of paper such as this, but anyway, students are still acting out that fair trade and they're making sense, the regrouping of numbers. So what does this look like as we begin to write it as an algorithm? We'll regroup the 20 into a 10 in another group. It's all about students seeing the math conceptually, and we're not undermining place value. So as students dive into third and fourth grade, they have 2 years to begin to formalize this understanding of subtraction and addition with regrouping and unitizing. But the big thing is that it's built through conceptual understanding. The standard algorithm isn't an expectation until the end of fourth grade, right before students dive into decimals with fifth grade. And you know what? In third and fourth grade, if students need to use expanded form to make sense of what they're doing, let them do it. It's all about the conceptual understanding and allowing students to visualize the math. So there's lots happening. As we've said before, let's take our time. The turtle won the race. Love to continue the conversation on Twitter or hit me up on my blog. Thanks for watching.
All right, you guys. Let's see if I can click past this without playing it again. Me and these embedded videos, man. One moment, please. As we... No, Graham, we don't want to hear you again, buddy. Next slide. Okay. Thank you for your patience. Question, when did he say we need to be able to have that addition and subtraction where you stack it up and start over in the ones place? At what grade? Alicia got me. Oh, but it's just directly to me. They don't see it, my friend. Lay that knowledge on everybody. That idea, yes, that idea is not in our standards to master until the end of fourth grade. Now, can I ask you, when he was using that expanded notation and he showed that number as 300 and this, and he regrouped and he borrowed and gave the tens, if I had learned like that, I would be some sort of rocket scientist sitting at NASA planning the next mission to Mars. Where would we be if we had learned with that level of understanding? No one ever told me why we dealt with place value and that expanded notation like that, except I should be able to write it on checks. Like, I mean, this idea of the word form, expanded form, and standard form never was connected to making sense until this man showed me that is where the conceptual understanding comes from. You can track it out. You can see it. And if our students need to write it that way to make sense of what they are doing, that is absolutely fine. Now, I taught first grade and I taught third grade, and they were stacking them up and asking students to look at the ones in first grade in this textbook. That's where they put them in the book. But it is not the standard for us to stack them up and start in the ones place. And did you notice he was writing everything from left to right? He didn't start writing, stacking them up until several grades in. We want to make sure we give our students the chance to make sense of what they are doing before we push them into following some steps that they're not ready for. And I could nerd out about that all day too, but I do want to get to these routines that we're going to look at. So thank you for indulging me and watching Graham Fletcher. I put the link to his video in the chat so that you can rewatch it, but also he has several others that are very good too, to help us just see where we're coming from and how it connects across the grades. I just think that is a fascinating thing to unpack. So take a look for just a minute at these habits of mind that you see on the screen. And I want to ask, can they even still see them? Did I share again? I don't think I did. Miss Henley, did I share my screen again? Thumbs down, she says. I mean, I didn't want to stay at the office all night, but maybe that would have been a better idea. How about now? Okay, so thank you. You all are so kind and gracious with me today. I tell you what. All right. So consider these are the things we want our students to be able to function in. And these are things that apply from preschool and kindergarten all the way up into high school. We want everyone to be able to make sense of problems and stick with it, persevere in solving them. We want them to be able to reason, construct their arguments. I believe this is true because I acted it out, because I drew a picture, because we want to be able to hear their reasoning. That was nothing I was ever asked to do. No one asked me in math class to explain myself. They just wanted to know, did I have the right answer or not? So we really do want to be able to, thank you. Can't see screen. I don't know why they keep me around. I really don't. And now on the other side of the screen, you'll see those effective teaching practices. And what I want you to see about this is there is a direct correlation between what our students are able to do and what we are doing to set them up for that. So consider that teaching practice number one is that we're establishing math goals to focus their learning. We're thinking about what our students know right now, what they need to know next, in what order do they need it. How can I provide them those hands-on experiences, those experiences that are rooted in a story of some sort, a context, a puzzle that is something bigger than those naked numbers on a sheet of paper. And so I want to show you this interesting resource that is in the back of our course of study. This is one of the appendices. Appendix C has this list where they have the students can do these things because the teachers are doing these things. And they're all available for you in the appendix, but I just want to highlight for you the way that this looks and the cause and effect relationship between some of these. For example, students understand that there are multiple ways to break apart a problem. because the teacher is asking students to explain their thinking, and the students are hearing those different approaches. Students are actively engaging in problem solving because the teacher is circulating and posing questions to the kids, rather than when I was a student and the question was a yes or no question, or you're either right or not question, but asking, how did you come up with that? That's interesting. Does that connect to this other thing? Could you show it to me in a picture? Take a look at using math vocabulary. Students are able to use that math vocabulary because teachers are intentionally using that math vocabulary integrated into their daily lesson plans. So we want to be thinking ahead about what we want our students to do and what we can do to purposefully plan ahead for that success. Another one that we'll leave you with is we can really get our children working to ask themselves, does this make sense? OMG, how many times do our students come up with something that is so completely unreasonable and they're like, here you go, I got it. And they're so proud of that completely unreasonable answer. We want to start building that inner dialogue where they're asking themselves, does it make sense? And we can get them there by asking questions before, asking about questions before, and reasonableness after computations. That wasn't worded very well, was it? It's all about the questions. We want them thinking, we want them talking, we want them making sense of things, which is absolutely not the way I was raised in a math classroom. But buddy, if I had been, it's a whole different story. I want to share with you a couple of quick routines, and we just don't have to tell Jasmine that she was right and I had planned more than we were going to be able to get to. She doesn't need that. There are several books out there about number sense routines, and the ones that we are going to engage in very quickly are from this collection here, Jessica Shumway. She wrote a collection for K3 and then 3-5. They're awesome. I'll share these again later, so never fear that you're missing out on something, but we want our students to build number sense and use it. And daily routines are a way to make that happen. Splats, which one doesn't belong, and clothesline math are the ones that I had intended to talk to you about today. We're going to focus on just the splat one because of time, but all of these slides are in what you will have access to, and my directions to myself are all underneath, so you can play them. You won't miss them. Let's consider splat. This comes from steveYborney.com. And these are really awesome because they're already built. You just download the set of PowerPoints or Google Slides, whichever you're into. And the animations are built in and everything. And they're really flexible because depending on what goal I want to work on, we've got a lot of options there. So we're going to play this splat, and it's great. You're going to love it. I love these. Here we go. Okay. Once upon a time, there were all these blue dots. Can I get your faces back? I want to see your faces. There you are. And then count with me to 3, and a splat is going to cover some of my dots. Ready? 1, 2, 3, splat. Oh, no. So there were 10 dots, but some of them have now been covered with a splat. So can you figure out and tell us in the chat, if there are 10 dots, how many of them have been covered by a splat? Go. Oh, they're so smart. Oh, I'm so proud of you. So we know that 6 dots are covered because we can see 4. And I would ask my class, is there someone who can please explain to me, how did you know that they were 6? And someone would say, well, I know that 4 and 6 work together to make a friendly 10. That's a pattern. I see it all the time. Great. Awesome. What if you didn't know that? Somebody else say, well, I have 10 fingers. If I could only see 4 of them, then one of their 6 must be hidden. There are lots of ways to get there. Let's just see if they're right. Ready? Oh, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I want to make sure that I show my students that original 4 plus the 6 that we're splatted give me the 10 dots in all. But I also could have solved that by thinking about 4 plus missing number equals 10. I could have subtracted the 10 I knew about minus the 4 I see equals the 6 that are left. And can I say to you, it is also, I'm going to change, can I change color? I think I can. Yeah, let's make it red. It is also allowed and a really good idea for you to write 10 is the same value as 6 and 4. This is when kids start telling you you wrote it wrong, because we are used to that equal sign being the symbol for here comes the answer, when in reality, it's that symbol of equality. We want to make sure they see these in all the different ways. What a beautiful opportunity for you to connect what we know about those fact families in a way that makes sense. You could have added or subtracted depending on your problem solving style in order to get here. And we're showing the relationship. You're laying the foundation for what we talk about a lot as part whole reasoning. And if you want to really impress people, this is composing and decomposing and recomposing. And that is a conversation for a whole nother day. Please come to more AMSTI training. We can just jam out about this forever, ever. Let's see here. You want one more? Just because it's fun? One more for the big kids? Okay, here we go. Oh no, how do I clear off? Let me clear my annotation. That didn't do it. That annotation is really in my way. Clear. All. Okay, here we go. Ready? Turn off my arrow. Okay. Ooh, that's a lot of dots. Here's a hint. That's 22. Okay. Now, count me down. 1, 2, 3, splat. Oh my goodness. Look at this one. Now, I'm going to tell you that if those splats are the same color, they are each hiding an equivalent number under the splat. Okay. So the value of the amount hidden is the same under each splat. So I'm going to hush a minute. And when you know the value which is hidden under one splat, will you please put that in the chat? Chat the splat. I got to think about this. Hang on. And y'all are quick. Okay. We got some brave people throwing 6 out into the chat box. Let's see. You ready? 6 and 6 and 6. So I could solve that by doing a few things. Maybe what I did is I was thinking about 22 as my whole amount minus 1, 2, 3, 4 equals, don't know. I thought about that. Going back 2 gets me to 20. Going back 2 more gets me 18. So that's 18, but I'm not finished because we now have to figure out between each one. So this is when I could start thinking about divided by 3. If I was to write an equation to represent this work, I might say 4 plus parentheses 6. This would be easier if I wasn't trying to draw with my finger, times 3 end parentheses equals 22. Good grief. That's a complicated equation. And without any meaning, I don't know. They say you have to get X by itself. That 6 times 3 could have been called 3X. Man, that is complicated. But with a picture to give me some sense making, something to anchor my thoughts with, some real magic can happen. There are splats that are written with fractions. There are splats that are written all the way up to support math standards in high school. So this is a really, really flexible standard. Nope, wrong word. Really, really flexible routine that depending on the standard you're trying to work on, your students will really get into. And when we are purposeful about how we plan to write that out to connect the images, the visual to the written, very abstract notation, some real magic can happen for our students. You guys, I'm 2 minutes past where I'm supposed to be done talking. So I'm going to say for you, now that I remembered how, I'm going to clear off these drawings. I'm going to take off the annotation. I'm going to click away from this. Which one doesn't belong is amazing. It's a great way for you to chat about which one of these shapes does not fit the pattern. Maybe you would say that this square at the top right does not fit because it is shaded in with a grid while the others are white. Maybe you would say that this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pentagon bottom right doesn't match because it is the only shape, the only polygon that is not a quadrilateral. There are so many math vocabulary terms that you can throw in here in a quick 5-minute routine about which one doesn't fit the pattern. You could also do them with numbers. 17 is the only prime number in that collection. The two are even and two are odd, but 65 is the only one that's greater than 50. So this is just limitless with what your students can do. And the idea again is we're problem solving and we're discussing our reasoning. Clothesline math is awesome because it takes something like a number line and makes it way more fun. Did you know number lines are mentioned in the course of study 38 times? Because that's an intense number. Yeah. So we can use number lines on a clothesline to make it way more fun and less scary. Leslie, go to the Zoom whiteboard. I was going to draw for you. Not going to do it. Because look, there's some picture of kids organizing fractions on a number line. And notice that they've got cards that are pre-drawn, but the students are having to reason about ordering them from least to greatest. And what's cool about these is that you can have equivalences and just clip them one underneath and hang them off each other because they are the same quantity, the same distance from 0 and 1. But it's an opportunity to make meaning, and number lines are a very underutilized tool that is one of the most important tools. Don't expire. We can use them with little people. We can use them with great big people. When you're finding the X and Y value on a coordinate plane, those are two intersecting number lines that go off positive and negative. That's what that is. It's all number lines. So looking back at our goals that we really wanted to touch on were specific resources that are attached to our standards and how we can interpret and see examples and use what we've got. Specifically thinking about how we can plan for and differentiate for and be very purposeful about what we're doing with our students. We looked at how there is a very intense and clear cause and effect connection. If I want my students to be able to do something, there are behaviors I can take to get there. And then there are flexible math routines that are really fun and a great way to get your students thinking and talking. Here's where I'm going to wind up. Really should not have had that second cup of coffee, but it seemed like a good idea. Please stay in touch with us. We are delighted to nerd out about math with you. There's a ton of stuff on our website that is available for you to access. You all are organized into regions, and you'll see on the map there, if you can locate where you are, you will also see which regional site supports you and the school where you teach. And you most definitely need to be getting in touch, see what kind of trainings are being offered, get them and your instructional coach to help get you what you need so that you are able to do what your students need from you because they are worth it. Additionally, please follow AMSTI on all the social media accounts. And if you scan that little My Digital card, it'll bring up my contact information. Save me in your phone. Get in touch if there's a way I can help you or if I can connect you with a resource. Okay, then I'm going to say to you that I was instructed to give you some homework. So the homework for you is to please consider a routine. You might do splat since that's the one we looked at together. Which one doesn't belong in clothesline math? I cheated a bit on them and you deserve to think more about that. But if those looked good, by all means, they're all Googleable. They're free resources. But whichever routine you pick, your task is to plan what standard you would address with that particular routine, plan the questions that you would ask, plan what you're going to write on the board or the chart paper. How are you going to connect what the students say to that standard that you want them to notice? And then discuss. I think they have like a form for you to put on your attendance that you have to like copy in your responses for your homework. Discuss how it went. What would you do differently and what routines, and that's wrong. How can routines help you accomplish those math goals? It's a fun thing for your students, but it's also a fun thing for you. And I really am excited. I hope Dr. Shields will share those responses with me when they all come rolling in, because I think you're going to have a blast with them. I'm also supposed to say to you that your next and last session is November 29th at 7. Please note that you will have the week off next week for Thanksgiving. It would have been cruel for her to have you gather on the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving. So I'm glad that they decided to give you a break. And in this last session, you also have a special guest to talk about certification. This is the final slide. There is the QR for attendance. There is the tiny URL so that you can access these slides. I will also share them to you through Dr. Shields and her messaging system so that you will get them along with this recording and the chat box. So I am 8 minutes over, but I am gaveling this out, and I'm here to answer any questions that you have for as long as you want to ask them, because I expect I'll be up a good long time. So please feel free, as you finish your attendance and you grab the link for the slides, to drop a question in the chat or to unmute and ask. I'm going to leave this up another minute so you can snatch those links, and then I'll unshare so that we can see our faces a little better. And I'm here to do whatever. Is there a link for the attendance tonight? That QR code on the screen is the attendance link that I have. Let me see. I don't think I also have a clickable link. No, they didn't give me a clickable link. We just have that QR code. So if somebody is extra
I can
techie,
work on that, Leslie.
sorry, Dennis, what?
I said I can work on that and post it.
Yeah,
in
thanks,
a minute.
Dennis. Dennis has joined us from the beach, I think. That's very tropical looking. Yeah, so if you need a clicking link, hang on, Dennis is going to make that magic happen. But if you've got your phone and you can scan that QR code, you can go ahead and get started on that. Yeah, Dennis is pretty hip with the technology. He'll get us taken care of. Yes, so you are correct. If you're on your iPhone, you can use the scan it from the photo app. I think the last time I heard about the Google phones, it's not the phone app, but it's Google Lens that you need to use. But I'm not a Google person on phones. And so if there's an Android person with better advice than that, definitely let us know. Ah, Dennis has it in the chat for you. He's a hero. By the way, we've had several VIPs hopping on and off tonight. Dennis is the statewide director of AMSTI, so they give him all the kudos. He's amazing, super cool. Faith Black is on. She's the K-5 math administrator. We had Dr. Shields on earlier. Y'all are familiar with her, one of the assistant superintendents for the State Department. I mean, it was VIP Central up in here. And all of these delightful, dedicated, hardworking souls, y'all the real MVPs. And we think you are amazing. Thank you. Thank you.